Hello, students. So we'll continue the chapter crop production and management. Now, today we'll study the agriculture and agricultural practices. So already we know that the first step that is the soil preparation, right? So the soil preparation they are doing using the plowing, leveling. So first step that is the soil preparation. I'm writing here. So here under this first, that is the plowing, then we have leveling. So, and then the next point is the manure. We have to add the manure to boost up the nutrition. Now, whatever the next point, that is the sowing. Now, sowing, that is, we have to select the farmers, they have to select the good quality seeds, and then this type of group they are making in the field, labeled field, and then they are just good quality crops stains in the primary stage of sowing. So after the preparation of the soil, these seeds are dispersed in the field, and this is called sowing. Okay, so they are just dispersing all the whatever the seeds, good quality seeds they have in their hand. Now this is the process, and they are using hand, and this is traditional method. Now so many modern methods are also there. We'll discuss that thing also. But sowing can be done manually by hand by using seed drilling machines also. That I have told you. First is the traditional method, that we can see the traditional method we are following from ancient India, but after that we have just researched so many things. So just to reduce the labor charges and just to speed up the process. So another thing, that is the seed drilling. So seed drilling. So using this method, whatever we are doing, we are sowing the seeds. Now some crops like paddy are first grown into the seedlings in a small area, then transplanted to the main field. Okay. So like paddy, what they are doing, some small, this type of small plantlets will be there, seedlings will be there in small area, then they have to reorganize that thing in the main field. Okay, so that is only for the paddy land. Now the manuring. Now manuring, crop need the nutritions, we know that, like the macronutrient and micronutrient. Okay, crop they need this thing, and they are collecting this from the soil. They are collecting this from the soil. So to produce very high yield, that means a very good yield, the crops need the nutrients, and the supply of nutrients at an interval that is necessary. That means at a time, if I am adding huge amount of manure, that can harm our plant. That can harm our plant. So what we should do? What we should do to avoid this? Some regular interval. In a regular interval, we should add the manure as per the requirement. As per the requirement. Okay, as per the regular interval, as per the requirement. This point is very, very important. And manuring, that is that step. This is that step where nutritional supplements are provided, and these supplements may be natural manure or maybe chemical fertilizer, inorganic chemical fertilizers. And manure is the decomposition product of the plant and animal wastes. So these are the natural manure. Okay, so we can use, suppose I have told you, in your home you are peeling off that the vegetables and also the fruits. So all these things you just collect it, and then you just add it with the soil. Then you can see that the soil is so nutritious for the plant. So this decomposition method is very good, and we can make manure by using this thing. And this we can use the product of the plant and animal wastes also, like cow dung we are used as a manure. Cow dung we are using as a manure, that is the waste of the cow. Okay, so cow dung is a very good manure. Like that, we can use the manure like the decomposed part of the plant and also the animals waste. Okay. Now fertilizers, these are chemical compounds consisting of plant nutrients and produced commercially. But in case of organic farming, what we have done in case of organic farming, we have used natural fertilizer. We have used natural fertilizer, or we have used vermicompost. We have used vermicompost. So fertilizers, or we can use the chemical compounds to for the better nutrition of the plant. But sometimes it has been seen that these fertilizers, they will be very much bad thing for the soil fertility. So these provide the nutrition to the crop, but the manure replenishes the soil fertility as well. So other method of soil replenishment, that is the vermicompost or crop rotation or planting of the leguminous plants. Okay, so these things we can do, like crop rotation, we can use the vermicompost instead of any synthetic or I can say rather inorganic chemical as fertilizer. Okay, this should be avoided, because what it will do, it will just destroy the soil fertility. So that we should avoid that thing. So we can use the vermicompost instead of this type of fertilizer, or we can use another thing, that is the waste of the cow dung also we can use, and also the decomposed the vegetables or decomposed plants also we can use, right? We can use. Now the irrigation means supply of water. As I have told you that weather and soil, these two things is very, very important for the production or cultivation of any crop. But in the weather, the main point is the rain thing. But the rainy season, if I am choosing the monsoon, it is not like that. All over the years, that means previous year, this year, or in future, I can say that yes, the rainfall will be required amount. It may not be, or it may not be there, but how we should protect our crops, and we should give that much rain or that much water supply to the particular crops, because some crops, they have the requirement of high amount of water, and some crops, they have a less amount of crop. So first we have to think about the moisture, how much moisture you have in the soil. According to that, we have to give the water. So irrigation means the supply of water, and sources of water can be wells, can be ponds, can be lakes, canals, dams. So these can be the sources of water. So what are the sources of water in case of our field? So it may be wells, it may be ponds, and it may be lakes, it may be canals, it may be dams, this. But over irrigation, that means waterlogging, and that will damage the crop. So over irrigation is not good for the crop, and it can damage whole the crop. So that will be very much dangerous for us. So this frequency and interval between the successive irrigation need to be controlled, so that always I am telling you, the farmers, they know that thing, how much water is needed for which type of crop, and what is the interval of this irrigation. That thing they know very well. According to that, they are doing their job, so that we can get a very good crop. So what is irrigation? Irrigation means nothing but supply of water. Now the different source of water you have in case of villages, like wells, ponds, lakes, canals, dams. Sometimes from river also we are taking the water also. Now this irrigation technique, this is also a traditional technique. We can use the traditional technique, But in this picture, we are not using the traditional technique. Here, we are using other techniques. We'll see what are the techniques. So, but the irrigation, that means I am giving the water. So before that, I should know, is there any requirement of the water in my field? If there is any requirement, so the interval, the frequency and interval between the successive irrigation, this thing the farmers should know, and according to that they should irrigate, they should do their job. Okay. Now the weeding. So always you can see that in your garden, suppose you have a very beautiful plant, and around this, around the root, you can see that so many unwanted plants are there. Those are weeds. So weeds are nothing but the unwanted plants which grow among the crops, So they are removed by using the weedicides. They are removed by the weedicides, because you can think that you can clean your garden because this is a small space. But if this is a big field of several acres, at that time it is very hectic to take out all the weeds, right? So at that time, the weedicides we are using by manually pulling them with the hand. Also, sometimes we are using with the hand we are pulling, then some are removed during the soil preparation also. That time also we are using this. But then the harvesting after weeding, here once the crop is matured, now you can see that greenery field were there. Whenever you are traveling through train, you can see green fields are there. But in a particular season, you can see that no, some brown fields are there, right? So at that time, you can see that yes, these crops, these are matured enough. Now, what is the job? We have to cut it, we have to gather it, and this process is called harvesting. So the grains are separated from the chaff, and either by threshing and manually in small scale or winnowing we are using. Okay. So here we have used some artificial technique. We are using some machine here to get all the crops, here. Okay. Now the storage. So I have told you the production is not enough. The storage is also enough, because whenever large scale production, that does not mean that you can distribute those things within a day. Okay, you cannot distribute those things. Also, the crops we have to store for whole the year. We have to store for whole year. And just to avoid scarcity of food, right? We have to avoid these things. So here the grains whatever yielded, that are stored in granaries or bins at godowns, and later we can use it for marketing or we can use it for distribution. Now the method of crop protection need to be better, because whenever I am just dumping all those crops in at that time, it may be some insects also may damage those things. Some water logs, if there will be some leakage in the water in that room, that also can hamper this thing. Or some grain should be protected from pests, rodents, like cleaning and drying and fumigation, that should be done prior to the storing. Okay, so the storing is also very important. And in our cases, we can see in the village areas, due to the lack of storing methods, that means storing is not possible sometimes, because a huge production is there. So at that time, a huge amount of crops may be destroyed or crops may be damaged. So that's why the storage point, this is very, very important. You have to store it, but in a proper place. You have to give that much temperature, that much humidity in that particular room, unless it will not be stored clearly and you cannot use after a long time. So The storage point is very, very important. Now, the types of the crops, as we have explained, Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid. And all these crops we are going to store, because in the monsoon, the Kharif crop will be there. In the winter season, Rabi crop will be there. In the summer season, the Zaid will be there. As you can see now, red tomato is available for throughout the year. Rice is available for throughout the year, right? It is not like that. This is summer. Okay, don't eat wheat or rice. It is like that. No, throughout the year you are taking all those things. So how is it possible? We are storing this. The production may be in the monsoon season, but we are storing this. So that's why the whole population of the country or the exporting also can be possible throughout the year. Okay, so here the Kharif, Rabi or Zaid, whatever the crops, types of the crops, we are trying to store it for whole the year. Now, the preparation of the soil, already we know that first what we have to do, first step of the cultivation, that is the preparation of the soil. First we have to do that plowing. Just now I have told, just brush up. For brush up I have given this plowing, then leveling, then you have to manuring this thing. Okay. Now, what is soil profile? You are saying that before going to cultivate, first we have to know the soil profile. Soil formation is the combination result of physical, chemical, and biological processes under certain environmental conditions. The soil is a combination of biotic and abiotic components. So, some microorganisms, worms you have, minerals you have, organic matters you have, humus you have, elements like water you have, some nutrients you have. So, the soil may be different types, like sandy soil, so like sand, okay, sandy soil. Then some of the soil, they are clayey soil. Preferably, what are the places that is very near to river, they have this type of soil, and some loamy soil. Okay, so among this, loamy soil is more suitable for farming. So here I have told you the traditional method. Here you can see that the bullocks they are using for the traditional method. They are preparing the field. They are preparing the field, plowing the field. Okay. So what I was just saying, that there were different types of soil: sandy soil, clayey soil, loamy soil, and loamy soil is more preferable. So according to the soil profile, we have to choose the crop, then we have to go for the cultivation. So an ideal soil in agriculture has two several characteristics, right? This you can have good water holding capacity should be there, proper aeration, good consistency, balanced acid and alkaline content, rich in nutrients. And if we analyze the soil, you can see that the air is 25%, mineral will be 45%, organic compounds 5%, water will be 25%. So in this ratio, if it is ideal soil, then in this ratio, it should have all the content. So the good water holding capacity should be there. Until unless if I am going to irrigation and going for irrigation, you can see that it cannot hold the water, so the crops they will damage. Then another thing that is very important, that is the good consistency. For whole the field you have good consistency, and the balanced acid and alkaline content. Always we know that the balanced alkaline content should be there, or acidic content should be there. If acid is more acidic, at that time you can see that the crop root can be damaged, or more alkaline, then the crop at that time the crop root may be damaged, or the growth of the crop that will not be good enough. So at that time you can see that it will be very much difficult for us to cultivate the crop in that type of soil. And this should be rich in nutrients like micro and macronutrients. Now, there is a point here has been written, that is the proper aeration. Aeration, that is the process by which air is circulated through or mixed or dissolved in this soil. So that means this is actually air is mixed, or I can say circulated. Okay, I can say better term will be, that means in better way the air should be circulated. Air is circulated, okay, through the soil. So this is the proper aeration. This is also required because the air 25% should be there and air should be passed through the soil until unless the root will be damaged. So we have to have these characteristics in a very good soil. Now, soil for agriculture, no soil is ideal, we have to make it ideal. Like no man is ideal, we have to make it ideal. So no soil is ideal and we have to make it ideal. That's why we are adding some manures. We are just plowing this field. We are adding some water also, so that the irrigation process we have. That's why the soil will become ideal. Now, soil fertility may be lost due to continuous farming. So what is the method? Some crop rotation method you can follow. Crop rotation method you can follow. And if you are farming some paddy lands are there, then after that you just put the pulses so that it will enrich the nutrients of the soil. So that means it will after that it will be prepared. It will be prepared for the next round. So here here the soil fertility may be lost due to continuous farming. So for the replenishment of soil contents, it is prepared prior to sowing of seeds. And in agriculture, plowing, leveling, manuring, these are the three steps. These are the three steps: plowing, leveling, manuring. We are doing it for the soil preparation, because whatever the soil you have, that is not ideal one. So we have to make it proper for the cultivation of a particular crop. How we can do it? We can do it by plowing, leveling, manuring. And manuring, you should remember at the time of manuring that much more manure is not good. Also, less amount of manure will not give you the growth of the crop. So that's why the soil, that thing is very important, and soil preparation is very, very important. It is the first step. If you are not doing it very well, then the other steps you should not be able to go through the other steps. So next, the plowing. Plowing, here you can see that this is the traditional method and this is the new method. So plowing, that includes the loosening and digging of the soil. And here aeration of the soil will increase. That means air will pass through the soil. So if air will pass through the soil, there will be no rotten root. So that's why we need that thing. And the main purpose of the plowing is that the integration of the manure, uprooting of weeds, the weeds will come out here, and removal of infectious pathogens also, insects also, that will come out whenever we are plowing. Bullocks or tractors are used to pull this plow, and hoe is another tool used to uproot the weeds and to lose the soil. Hoe, there is a picture, I will show you what is the hoe. So here, that means here we require the plowing is not only to loosening or digging the soil. For plowing, the air will be circulated, the air will be circulated, the pathogens will be removed, the weeds will be removed, and here also some insects may be removed, or they will kill the insects at the time of plowing. So this is the traditional method and this is the tractor we are using for plowing method. Now the leveling method, here you can see one machinery for the leveling this land. Now leveling helps in distribution and soil is leveled after plowing. A plank of wood or iron is used. Here you can see that this thing you can see. A plank of wood or iron we are using, and leveling also helps in water distribution without logging during irrigation. That means if you have the suppose this is the surface, that means water logged here, water will be logged here, right? Water will be logged here, here, and here also. So that's why if there is a equal level at all places, at that time there will be no water logging. If there will be no water logging during the irrigation, at that time the root will be fine. The root will be fine. So leveling is very, very important. Now the tilling or plowing. Here it has, I can show you, this is a traditional wooden plow. So here this process we are doing, and farmers uses different purposes, different purpose for plowing, that they sometimes they are adding some fertilizers also. Now here they are loosening the soil using this traditional wooden plow, and they are adding fertilizers also. The plowshare is a triangular iron strip. Here triangular iron strip, this one triangular iron strip, and this plow shaft is the main part of the plow, which is made using a log of wood. Here the other end of the shaft has a handle. This is the handle, and the other end is attached to a beam which is placed on the bull's neck. And wooden traditional plow can be operated by a pair of an ox and a man. The man that will just push it, and the ox they are just carrying, and then you can see that using this one we can plow the whole field. This is the hoe. Now this hoe is a tool that's used to dig up the soil and to remove the weeds and also loosen the soil before planting a sapling. Okay, this thing also we are using some miniature form. Some miniature form also we are using in our garden. In our garden we are also using some miniature form of this, right? Now the cultivator. The cultivator, it is attached to the tractor. Here this is the cultivator, it is attached to the tractor. This is the tractor, and it helps in loosening the soil. As I have told you, if the field is very big one, at that time it is not possible a few person to plow all the field. At that time some cultivator we are using. The cultivator are used instead of plows since they are faster. You can see here there are so many notches are there, and this modern day cultivator we can use to plow a big field, big area field, some acres, some hundreds of acres of field in a very short time. Now this is the sowing process. Already I have described the sowing process. In this sowing process you can see that we are making some groove here, and we are putting in equidistance, we are putting all the seeds. Now this is the sowing process. Now seed germination is the main thing of the sowing process. So in the paddy lands, as I have described, in the paddy lands, what we are doing, we are just taking the seeds, and in a particular place we are sowing that seed. After getting the sapling, then we are again just putting it all in the field, required field. So during the agriculture process, proper precautions should be taken, appropriate depth should be there, proper distance should be maintained, soil should be clean, healthy, and free from disease. Other pathogens, including fungus, should not be there. So these things we should keep in our mind. First thing is the proper appropriate of the depth. Appropriate depth should be there. Distance, that means if you have a field like this, then distance between these three rows, it should be equidistant, and soil should be clean, healthy, free from any insects, any pests, so any disease, it should be free from this. So all these precautions are essential for seed germination. Germination means from seed there will be one sapling will come out. So that is the process that is called the seed germination. That is called the seed germination. Okay, what is called seed germination? The process of seed developing into new plants. Developing into new plants. Now sowing plays an important role. Now here the after the soil is loosened and plowed, the good and disease-free pure quality of seeds are selected and sown into the soil. Then after selection of good quality, they are sown on a prepared land, and these seeds which give the high yield are usually selected and sown by the different methods. Like already I have told, the traditional method they are using their hand, and another is that artificial method or the modern method. Rather I can say that this is the modern method. Okay, this is the modern method. So methods of sowing. So there are some various methods used for the sowing seeds. Now in our ancient Indians, from this we are using the traditional methods, because at that time the modern tools those are not available. So a funnel shaped tool that is used to sow the seeds of traditionally. Okay, and the funnel is filled with the seeds, and seeds pass through 2 to 3 pipes with sharp ends, and these ends enter into the soil and the seeds are placed there. So in this picture you can see this thing. This is the funnel where the seeds has been poured. Now these seeds with this pipe, these seeds will go inside the soil. And now here you can see that this is the arm here, which will just take the groove and which will make the groove here, and this group in this group particular seeds will be sown. So this in this method, this is the traditional method with the help of which with the help of which traditionally we are doing the sowing of the seeds. Okay, so this is very important method, and earlier ages we have this method only. Now these things for more cultivation, more crops, more yield, rather you can say more yield, we are going for the modern tools where we are not using the bullock cart, and we are just using modern machineries there, where the machineries that will give the that similar process will be applied, but it is very fast and there are manpower requirement is less, and also there are more less amount of exhaustion there, and with a very small time span we can sow that we can the sowing method will be very fast. Okay. Now the broadcasting. It is a process that seeds are scattered on the seed beds, either mechanically or manually. Here, broadcasting of the rice seeds, he is doing broadcasting of rice seeds. Just you scatter the seeds. And broadcasting method of sowing, the seeds are spread uniformly and are then covered with planting. When they are large number of seeds, the work is done using the mechanical broadcaster, because at that time human power is not enough. If the field is very large and a huge crop you have to cultivate, it is not possible with the help of few men, you cannot do that thing. So few labor, you cannot do that thing. So that the broadcasting at that time you have to do it mechanically. And seed rate is very high in this system. Now, here, in case of dribbling, the holes are made in the seed bed and the seeds are placed. Here, the seed beds, the holes are made. Here, in the holes are made, then seed beds are then covered. The holes are made at definite depth. The dibbler is used for dibbling, and it is a conical instrument that makes proper holes in the seed bed. And this method is used usually to sow the vegetables. Whenever we are going to grow the vegetables, at that time we are using this dibbling method. So in this, what we are doing, some holes we are making, and that will be made in the seed bed, and seeds are placed in that. Then seed bed will be covered, the holes are made at definite depth and we are using dibbler, so that will make same depth for every seed. So generally we are doing it for the vegetables. You should remember, generally we are doing it for the vegetables. Okay. Now drilling method. Now seeds are dropped into furrow lines in a continuous flow and are covered with soil. Why? Because we are waiting for saplings. Now this is done either mechanically or manually. And proper amount of seed that is sown at proper depth, proper spaces. That means in between these two lines, the spaces are saying, and proper depth, how much is required for a particular seed, that will be maintained, and it can be done using the drilling method. So drilling can be done in the following method: sowing behind the plow, bullock drawn seed drills, tractor drawn seed drills. So in this way, drilling can be done. Now seed dropping behind the plow. Here you can see that there are different methods of sowing such as broadcasting, dibbling, drilling. Now seed dropping behind the plow, transplanting, heel dropping, check row planting. There are several methods here. And these methods are commonly the seed dropping method behind the plow. This is used in villages to sow the variety of food crops like maize, peas, wheat, barley, gram, like this thing. So one handle, what it will do, one bamboo tube you have, right? Like funnel shaped mouth. Now it needs two men to drop the seed. One handle the bullocks and another one that plow, other drops the seeds. Okay, one will handle the bullock and other will handle the dropping of the seeds from the funnel. And lot of time it will consume and it's labor intensive also. So that's why this method is not widely used for a large field. So at that time we can use in the villages also. Now the transplanting. As I have told you, transplanting, the seedling are first planted in a nursery, then planted in a prepared field. So like paddy, what we are doing in a particular nursery, we are first seedling is done. After that, we are just transplanting these saplings to the particular field. And this is usually done to grow the vegetables and flowers also. The transplanter is used for this purpose, but this purpose is time consuming. One by one I have to take out and one by one I have to put it. So this is time taking method. Now heel dropping. In this method, sowing, this is the heel dropping method. Here you can see that selected seeds are dropped at regular spaces. Here you can see this is a regular space. So you should not measure this one, and there will be no error here. So the selected seeds are dropped at regular spaces, but not in a continuous manner. Okay, this thing we can do using the heel dropping method. Now check row method. The seeds are planted along a straight parallel furrows, right? You can see straight parallel furrows, and a check row planter is used for this method. Row to row, plant to plant distance is uniform. Here row to row and plant to plant distance is uniform. Row to row and plant to plant distance is uniform in the check row planting method. Now the precautions while sowing the seed. We should take some precautions. Like the seed should be disease free, because if one seed is you have some disease, that can be spreaded to all the seeds. So you should be very much careful that none of the seed have any disease. So the seed should be disease free. Seeds must be planted at correct distance from each other. Correct distance from each other, until unless you will face two problems. You will face the problem at the time of irrigation. Also, you will face the problem at the time of weeding also. So that's why the seeds must be planted in a correct distance from each other. And seeds should be sown such that all the crops should get an equal amount of light, nutrients, and water. because always whenever the seed is a very tiny thing, but whenever the crop plant you have, this is not a tiny thing. So for one crop plant, another crop plant, it will not get the nutrients. That should not happen. It will not get the water. That should not happen. So how you can do it? By maintaining the same depth, by maintaining the same distance from each other. And seeds should be sown correct depths. They should neither be placed at the top of the soil so that it will blown away by wind, or whenever grazing animals are there in this field at that time, it can be damaged and it will not germinate. So the depth should be proper. Until unless it may be due to the wind, it will just fly and you cannot get you. Yes, why my plant is not growing? You can see that there is no seed. That's why there is no plant. Another thing can happen, that is whenever grazing animals are there, at that time it can happen that the seed may not germinate due to their pressure also. So that's why we have to keep in our mind all those points. Now, agriculture, this is the thing. What are the points you have to remember? There are different types of agriculture for different types of crops, but the economic value should be maintained. Now, the main purpose of agriculture is not only to cultivate the crops, but it also provides employment to large proportion of the population. And this agriculture, this is the backbone. Agriculture, this is the backbone of our of India. Agriculture, this is our backbone of India. 70% of the population, they are engaging in their agriculture. Their family depends on agriculture for their economic activity. So that's why this is very, very important. Now, as we are all aware now why this agriculture is very important. So first to last stage of the seed, like selection of the seed, soil preparation, the sowing, then irrigation, then harvesting, all these stages, we should be very much particular in these stages. And seeds, these are the fundamental requirement in most agriculture process, because if seed is not good, then high quality or high yield is not expectable. So before beginning the cultivation, we should select best quality seeds. We should select best quality seeds. Best quality seeds. We should select best quality seeds, because after that you have a huge things to do to get the crop from the seed. This is a journey. And if you are not selecting a very good seed, at that time you can see that you will be just whatever you are doing, your crop plant will not be good. Your crop is not good. There will be no economic value. You cannot distribute those crops at all. So we should be careful regarding this thing. Till now, today, now next day we'll continue this chapter. Thank you and bye.